Hello guys, welcome to my new series. It's fair to say that this is fairly different to what I regularly do, but I wanted to show you some stories that have always baffled me or just creeped me out on the internet. This is not the kind of light-hearted content that I regularly make. This might actually get quite dark in some cases. This is quite separate to what I regularly create, so don't think that I'm not going to keep making my regular content. This is just another thing I wanted to do because it intrigues me, and I hope it does to you as well. This content is also going to be a bit rarer than my regular content, just so you know. So, before we jump in, if you're new here, then leave a like, subscribe with notifications on to get updates on when I upload, because it's fair to say that I upload pretty regularly. But anyway, we'll get straight to it. Now, this episode is involving the odd story that has really encouraged me to make this series. This is the strange story of Clockman. Now, Clockman has intrigued me ever since I found out about it quite a few months back. The whole thing started back in 2012 when a user on the Flood forums named Commander Santa made a post that said, "I'm looking for a particular animated short that terrified me as a child. I've been looking on and off for it for nearly 4 years. Maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe nobody should ever find it. But if someone can, it's the Flood." This short animation was terrifying as a child. The scene is still burned into my mind 28 years later. It's of a young boy sleeping in his bed. Above his bed is a ticking clock. All the lights in the room are off and it is very dark. Suddenly, the clock begins to slow down. It's ticking and eventually stops on midnight. When the clock stops, a greenish-bluish man climbs out of the clock. The boy wakes up just in time to see this man dressed in black grab him out of bed and kidnap him by carrying him through a window. The clock man takes the boy on some kind of terrifying adventure and brings the boy back to his bed before sunrise. Now, that's a pretty vivid picture to have, and soon the thread began to blow up with people commenting on how creepy the description is and asking for more information from Commander Santa, and even if they could help him on his quest to find the missing short. Now this kickstarted one of the greatest internet searches for a piece of lost media, a search that lasted about 5 years. However, it started by being dismissed as a creepypasta bait, because the whole creepypasta scene sort of blew up and had its peak around 2012. Other people just called him an attention-seeking troll, or just questioned his memory. Commander Santa would then go on to say, "I remember feeling great terror whilst watching it. The Clockman abducted the little boy and took him places he did not want to go. I can't remember where exactly, but I seem to remember the boy repeatedly asking to go home. The Clockman just ignored him, like he couldn't hear him. He just kept dragging the boy through all kinds of scary places. I remember being scared for the boy and just wishing that the Clockman would take him home." Now, the way he responded to the accusations of baiting just made people think more and more that he was some creepypasta troll, like when he said that he'd be happy to see it one more time before I pass away. And when he said that he'd thought about it for the whole his life, like in high school and college, people thought he was just another troll with a fake creepypasta, while there were still a few that believed he was genuinely terrified by some cartoon short. After all, he was a respected member of the community who hadn't trolled people in the past. People just couldn't help but believe him after how detailed his accounts of the short were. And then there were just the people who wanted to believe. They liked the idea of it as a horror story and joined in the ride in seeking the cartoon over the next 5 years. The way Clockman was described was having a large bushy beard, greeny blue skin and a long cape. Many shorts were instantly ruled out early on, despite how eerily similar they were to the description. Some shorts like this were 1931's The Clock Store, 1979's Nutcracker Fantasy, and 1991's The Sandman. Commander Santa did, however, give a really helpful clue. This was that the short had been aired on Nickelodeon's show Pinwheel, which was a children's show running from 1977 to 1990. The show was a bit like Sesame Street, and it also showed a lot of shorts from around the world. But there had been 260 one-hour episodes in the show's lifetime, which had only been showed on TV and never really sold in DVD and tape copies. So finding the right short was going to take just too long by sourcing and buying each episode, and then analysing it for 1 hour, trying to find a short that matched the description. I mean, it was never really sold as home media, so it was they were very rare. Like, people only really burned them onto discs. Like, they were never sold officially. Now, this could potentially take years, so this process was instantly ruled out. The other main problem with this process is that Clockman was not the official name of the sketch, which would only add to the grief. Nobody knew the name of the short, and Pinwheel, as I said, never really had any home media type release. Commander Santa's thread, however, reached 800 comments within the 24 hours, and stories of the short took the internet by storm. It had spread to World of Warcraft, Minecraft and other game forums, and Yahoo Answers and other question sites, but still no leads came up until it spread to 4chan's X-Paranormal thread, within the same year as the original Flood thread was started. Commander Santa went to 4chan for help, and soon an anonymous user responded with another official plot summary for the Clockman short. He said, "Holy, I remember this short. It was like claymation with poorly made dolls, and the animation was real stuttery, and it started with the kid's mum telling him good night and closing the door behind her after shutting off the light. Then the door slowly creaks open while a generic wind sound blows, and the camera cuts to the kid's room at the foot of his bed. He struggles to open his eyes as they slowly droop, and he eventually gives in and goes to sleep. Then it cuts to the clock, while the second hand slowly ticks to 12. When it hits there's a low bell ringing sound, and the camera goes back to the foot of the kid's bed. The Clockman's head peeks into the room like the clock were a window. Unlike the ops image shows, the Clockman's head then recedes back, and his arms come out and pushes the clock open like a door, revealing a big dark hole behind the clock. The Clockman hops out of the hole, and the kid wakes up and stares beady-eyed at the Clockman. Then the Clockman starts doing like a weird Irish rivers dance. Oh, and the Clockman looks a little different from the picture. He was wearing an all-black turtleneck sweater and a bowler hat. A black bowler hat. His skin was green, and I don't really remember him having a beard, but he did have a big toothy smile and 2 real big eyes with tiny pupils. The anonymous 4chan's user's account of the short heavily differs from Commander Santa's original recount. I personally think that he might be thinking of another animated short. His description of Clockman is different because it describes the Clockman as having green skin, no beard, and a turtleneck and bowler hat. He also describes the entrance of Clockman more differently, like how he does an Irish dance, which Commander Santa does not recall in his account. And despite the many differences between the two accounts, Commander Santa states that they must be talking about the same short, and that one of them has just forgotten or misremembered some of the details. It was at this time that Commander Santa started purchasing like unofficial DVDs of Pinwheel in the hope that he might be able to find something, but like everything so far, he reached a dead end. The Clockman's story did become quite famous over the course of 2012 and 2013, but it can also be traced back to around 2004, my birth year, when on the website, the Animation Nation, a user called Michael W. Howe, while on a thread about horror elements in animation, made a post about some creepy or just flat-out frightening shorts that he had seen on a TV show called Pinwheel. Among his descriptions of different shorts, there, clear as day, was a paragraph about a short where a little girl lost a pair of red shoes, and to find them she asked a wizard to help her find them. The wizard complies, but makes her swear that she will tell her mother about it when she gets home, which she doesn't, hoping the wizard would forget, which he doesn't. So on that night, the wizard appears out of the clock and kidnaps the girl, forcing her to sew stars into the night sky until morning, when he returns her home and she tells her mother. Now that description sounds oddly familiar to me. What about you guys? Now, this description at the time was overlooked by everyone, but when the post was rediscovered in 2012 to 13, it symbolised a turning point in the efforts to find Clockman, because it converted people who didn't believe Commander Santa's claims into solid believers that this could be true. This could be going somewhere. This was no creepypasta. This was the real deal. But despite all of the hype surrounding this discovery of Howell's post, the search died down as nothing came through for about 2 years. All hope seemed lost. But then in 2014, the creator of the Lost Media Wiki, called Dykate, came forward and reignited the search when he made a post on the Lost Media Wiki about Clockman and the search so far, and he also included some of his own efforts to get into contact with some Nickelodeon employees who worked at Nickelodeon at the time that Pinwheel was running, to see if they could present any information on the Clockman short. After quite a while of getting no leads or just no responses, Dykate managed to message Michael W. Howe, the guy who made the post on Animation Nation in 2004. The pair talked for a while about Clockman, back and forth, and, well, they tried to solidify the description of the original Animation Nation post, and elaborating on it. The description to come out of this contact between the two is probably the very best description that people had to go off. It goes a little something like this. The show starts with a little girl getting a new pair of shoes from her mother, which she's told not to lose. The girl goes off to play, but when she makes her way back home, she realises, lo and behold, that she has lost the shoes. After searching everywhere, she can't find the shoes, so she goes to a local wizard who lives nearby. The wizard, all the while, is appearing and disappearing in trees and in different spots in his home. The girl requests the wizard's help, who gives her replacement shoes, and he tells her to tell her mother what had happened when she gets home. She goes home and doesn't tell her mother. A female narrator says she felt that the wizard would forget the deal. The scene changes to the wizard's house, and the wizard looks upset. The scene then goes back to the little girl's house where she is in bed, and with a clock next to her, and the narrator creepily whispers, "But the wizard did not forget." The 2 floors of the girl's house are then shown, with the wizard appearing and disappearing multiple times. On the first floor, at the first, then the second, and then outside her door. Then the clock stops, and a window appears in the clock, which the wizard peers through before abducting the girl and taking her to his house, where he demands to know why she didn't tell her mother about the truth. The girl says she was afraid of what her mother would say if she found out. The wizard said something, and then buildings turned into skyscrapers for whatever reason. Can't talk today. He then says that he will forgive her if she knits stars to be put into the night sky, which she does, and the next morning the girl tells her mother everything, who forgives her, and everything is fine. Then the wizard is looking at them through a telescope before the short ends. Now, apparently, it was, according to Howe, one of the scarier shorts to appear on Pinwheel. The descriptions is similar, but much more detailed than what Howe originally said in 2004. Howe also claims to have seen the short multiple times on Pinwheel as a child. Now, Commander Santa around this time he also decided to leave the Flood forums until the short was found. This made it hard for Dykate to contact him, but eventually Commander Santa responded in early 2015, but he couldn't give any new information, so Commander Santa disappeared again. After this, Dykate tried to contact people who worked on Pinwheel, one more time, and this time he directly contacted the creators, not the studio, and he successfully managed to reach a person on the team called Michael Karp, who stated that he vaguely remembered the short and that it was probably produced for Pinwheel's first season. Now unfortunately, Karp had joined the team around the time of the second season, and therefore only really knew about the short, and he didn't really know anything in depth that Dykate already knew. Now, Karp pointed Dykate in the direction of the executive producer, Lois Tippy Fortune, who Dykate contacted, giving her all the information he knew about Clockman. Now, she responded fairly quickly, but she couldn't remember the Clockman short. She did, however, tell Dykate that most of the animated short films found for Pinwheel were acquired by Co Films. Now, Co Films had a large film library collected of short films. Co Films had a large film library collected from around the world, which it would use and forward to larger companies like Nickelodeon. But soon Nickelodeon and other companies began to produce their own work, and Co Films became redundant. The founder, Bernice Co, tried to sell the company, but that failed and they soon went out of business. Tippy tried to contact Bernice Co, founder of Co Films, but it never was responded. I tried to look up Bernice Co on Google, but it appears that from the few results that could be found, she's probably dead. Tippy did then give Dykate emails of 3 people who were very much heavily involved in finding footage for Pinwheel. She also gave Dykate names of some small animation companies and children's media corporations that might have a lead on the short. 2 members did reply to Dykate, but they didn't have any information that Dykate didn't already know. The corporations had nothing either. This was really a dead end. Dykate then focused on Co Films as the only way of finding the Clockman short. Dykate managed to get in contact with Jane Co, Bernice Co's daughter, who tried to help however she could, and on December the 10th of 2017, after multiple red herrings and fake discoveries, a breakthrough was finally made. After 5 years of relentless searching, a Lost Media Wiki user called Nitrate Nerd, while doing some research of his own, searched for a short called The Wizard on a website called WorldCat, a catalogue of media or basically anything. After looking through multiple pages, Nitrate Nerd found an animated short listed under the name Sally. It came with a YouTube link, which led Nitrate Nerd to a short called About Dressy Sally. That might just be a mistranslation of the name because the short wasn't English in origin, but more importantly, the short appeared to be identical to the descriptions of Commander Santa, the anonymous 4chan user, and of course Michael W. Howe, and Dykate's description. The video was shared around until it reached Commander Santa. He confirmed it to be Clockman not too long later. The short had been produced in an Eastern Bloc communist country of Czechoslovakia in 1976 during the time of the Soviet Union, and they didn't know where their short was going, and that was why it was so hard to source. The only real difference to Howe's description and the real short was that instead of shoes, red shoes, the girl was given orange gloves. Clockman had been found, and on January the 11th, 2018, the English dub was finally uploaded to YouTube. The 5-year-long search was finally over. Now, I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this series. It is really different to what I regularly do. I regularly try to make light-hearted, sort of fun, throwaway videos, stuff that's sort of relevant for about a couple days. It's not meant to really be taken seriously, whereas this is really different, so I appreciate any support on this kind of content. It's very new for me, and I hope you enjoyed this. I know I enjoy sharing around this kind of knowledge. If you want to see part 2, then leave a like, let me know, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.